the good people of Lagos West. I rise to present the motion on the urgent need to mandate schools to locate their creche and nursery classes to the ground floors of the high-rising buildings and implement safety protocols. The Senate should note with grief the death of a toddler, David Udo, on the 24th of October 2023, who fell from a school high-rise building at Emirates International School, Abia, in Abia State. Further, note that the incident brought to the fore, again, the issue of safety in our schools, particularly for babies and toddlers in creche and nursery schools across Nigeria. Aware that accidents do occur, including falling from multi-floor buildings in our schools, resulting in injuries, temporary or permanent disabilities, in some cases, death. Also aware that many of these accidents may not have been reported appropriately to the supervisory state authorities to cause the activation of necessary investigation and possible sanctions. The ultimate is for investigation to cause state policy direction that will permanently prevent the occurrence of these heinous accidents. Concerned that if there are state policy or not, school operators and managers are expected to display duty of care and ensure that babies and toddlers under their care are properly monitored and prevented from falling off high-rise buildings in their premises. And also concerned that the case of Master Udo, David Udo, is a pathetic and heartbreaking accident that requires this Senate to critically look into the issue of safety and protocols in schools across Nigeria, across the country, including schools, building, and facility designs and arrangement. Accordingly, resolve 1, to urge Nigerian police to immediately commence a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the fall and subsequent death of Master David Udo. Also, 2, also urge the federal and state ministry of education to compel schools nationwide to relocate their creche and nursery classes to the ground floor or bungalow within the school premises. Further, urge the federal state ministry of education to immediately conduct a risk assessment in all schools' infrastructure in Nigeria to identify hazards and vulnerabilities and time-seriously identify means to mitigate schools' hazard. And 4, equally all the federal and the state ministry of education to enforce safety protocols in schools as enshrined in the National Policy on Safety, Security, and Violence-Free Schools, and issuing its implementation guidelines. I submit.
Mr. David Udo, for the death of their darling son. It is really sad that a toddler could be allowed to die in this manner. And I'm very much interested in making contribution to this debate because of what is happening all over the country. You find facilities that are not meant to be used as schools being converted to serve as school without recourse to the rules that guide, the establishment of schools. And I think it's the fault of the authorities in the first place to allow anyone to use any facility to be used as school. It is wrong. If proper thing is done in terms of giving approval for those who want to establish schools, by making sure that each facility, any facility to be used for such purpose, conform with what is needed of such a facility. I think if that is the practice, you wouldn't have gotten this kind of thing. But what happens now is that you see residential buildings that are not meant to serve as schools are used as schools. For instance, Apple Quarters. There's a residence that has now been converted to serve as school. A residence. And if you see what is happening there, you pity for our young ones, for our children, because that facility is meant to serve as residence. How can you now use a high-rising building, a skyscraper, to serve as a school for toddlers? It is sad. This should be expected. So before condemning what has, of course, is condemnable, and the owners of schools should be, should be dealt with in accordance with the law. They should be brought to justice. But before then, authorities must really stand up. Those saddle responsibility of making sure that proper facility is created before allowing that to be used as school should be called to always do their jobs. Go with the rules. They should be reminded that the lives of our young ones, the future of our young ones is the future of our country. We can't allow this kind of incidents, this kind of situation to continue without calling those who are responsible to order. This has to stop. Building that should serve as school should be properly put in place in line with the rules. I therefore urge my colleagues to support this motion because we need to do something about this kind of situation. We shouldn't allow this to continue. I say submit.
Yes, the Senior Senator.
To support this very, very noble motion moved by my sister from Lagos concerning an issue in Abia State. Mr. President, the raising of this motion this morning brings once again to the fore the lack of preparedness on the part of our enforcers to regulate our system properly to prevent proactively incidents of this nature. Mr. President, I was just discussing with a colleague just now, and we came to the conclusion, Mr. President, that the mad rush for the erection of schools and institutions across the country, especially by private individuals, is a reason for the apparent negligence on the part of regulators to properly ensure that structures are erected in such a manner that they prevent incidents of this nature. Mr. President, I want to reiterate my earlier call on this government of renewed hope agenda to live to its creed and ensure that the proper thing is done this time around. Like I continue to say, Mr. President, accidents of this nature do not have party colors. They do not have religious colors. It is like the rain. It falls on every roof and any roof. And so all of us must rise up to occasion and very effectively represent our people by ensuring that our regulators live up to their responsibility, by ensuring that school structures are designed properly, and especially that our future generation are protected. Because who knows, this toddler could be the president of Nigeria tomorrow. And so, they are gone. We are lamenting here. I hope sincerely that whatever we resolve from here will not be the usual lamentation, that at least it will be followed by action to prevent future occurrence of this type of accidents in our schools. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I rise to contribute to the support of this motion brought by our distinguished sister. Mr. President, the death of this toddler, this pupil, is exposing again the flaws we have in our designs and planning. There is no way a school can have a high-rise building for toddlers without putting in place safety measures so that this type of thing will not happen. Elsewhere, you cannot have this type of building and expect little children to climb to the high rise, to the top floors, where there are no barricades, where they can slip off and then fall out and die, the way David Udo has died. It is not only in schools that we have this type of negligence in our designs. What we are suffering here in this country is lack of control, development control, design approvals. Before you can erect any building, the architect will do his work according to specification allowed in the architect Shiru knows what I'm talking about, the deputy leader. He knows that you cannot build a house that will not pass safety tests. Most times in this country, we report that a building has collapsed. A building under construction has collapsed. Or even one that has been built and people are living in them will collapse. If people had done their job diligently during the design process, approval process, construction, you'll be able to check whether the appropriate materials were used in erecting those buildings. These days, somebody will just go and start building anything and no control. So that is what we face. So we have to condemn this and support this motion. You cannot build a 3-story house, for example, without having a lift in it. But in Nigeria, we can build 5-story. People fetch water from the ground to the 5th floor, climbing the staircase. This type of thing should stop, particularly in the issue of managing creches and nursery schools where little children are trained. Buildings for such schools must pass through the tests and design specifications and requirements so that will save us this type of unfortunate agony of a little child leaving the parents or his parents taking him to the school, dropping him off, going away, and will be called that he has fallen off from the building in the school and died. So I support this motion, and I thank our distinguished sister for being a mother. That's why you are taught like this. From Lagos West, you went to raise a motion in Abia State, where this incident happened. So you are a nationalist. I commend you, and this is the way we should be following problems in this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Circumstances surrounding the fall and subsequent death of Master David Udo. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Also urge the federal and state ministries of education to compel schools nationwide to relocate their creche and nursery classes to the ground floors or bungalows within the school premises. Those in support of prayer 2 say yes, amen.